I am Dr. Ashish Dixit, Associate Professor, Computer Science and Engineering Department, Akgec Engineering College. So friends, today we will discuss about the Java database connectivity. Everyone knows that the database is a backbone of our software industry. So, if you did not have a database, then how to fetch information of the employee, of the student, of the record, how it will be possible? Then database is a very crucial part. So here, how to use a Java database connectivity in our program, in our project, okay? So, what is a JDBC? Java database connectivity is an API that lets you access virtual and tabular data source from the Java programming language. So, JDBC data access API is called a JDBC technology. What is an API? Here we will use a API and also use a tabular data sources. So, access the virtual any data sources that relational databases to the spreadsheets and the flat files. And what is the JDBC documentation? We will focus on accessing a Oracle database because right now if you see the current scenario, then JDBC, JavaScript, Java is also product of the Oracle. So that's why we will access the Oracle database. Okay. So here the general architecture of the JDBC. Here we will use a Java application and JDBC driver. It's a design pattern implied in this architecture. Here, this is the Java application and this is the way that will be developed by the user, and this is the JDBC driver, and we will use for a communication between the Java application and JDBC driver, use the JDBC API. Then again, Java application send the whole information to the JDBC driver manager, use the JDBC API. Then again, it's also send the JDBC driver API to the JDBC ODBC bridge and vendor specific JDBC driver. Both are communicated with the JDBC driver manager with the help of JDBC driver API. Next thing, the JDBC ODBC bridge will communicate with the vendor specific ODBC driver, and these ODBC driver communicated with the databases, and database send the information to the vendor specific ODBC driver, vendor specific ODBC driver send the JDBC ODBC bridge, then JDBC ODBC bridge send the information JDBC driver manager, and JDBC driver manager send to the Java application. Similar things here, one portion will be left, and again it's a use a JDBC driver manager, use the vendor specific JDBC driver and database. Okay, here we will access a two-way communication. Then here we will find out the subquery. What is the design pattern of the implied in this architecture? What does it buy for us? And why this is the architecture also multi-tiered? Okay. So here we will discuss about the anatomy of the data access. So this is the Java application or applet and use the JDBC driver manager. Again, we will use three types of information system. First, we will use the ODBC driver manager. Second thing, we will direct communicate to the Oracle driver. Third thing, we will direct communicate with the system based driver. Oracle database driver is direct will be fetch the data through the Oracle database, and system based driver is direct access the data through the system base. But ODBC driver and manager will be communicate with the ODBC bridge manager, and it's divided into two parts: access driver and database driver. Through the access driver, we will use the access, and database driver also use the database method. So this is the anatomy of the data access. The driver manager provide a consistent layer between your Java app and backend database. So the JDBC work natively such as with the Oracle driver or with the any other ODBC data sources. So here we will discuss about the some basic steps of the Java database. So in a Java database, we will concentrate on some following points, like how to establish a connection. Second thing, how to create a JDBC statement. Third thing, how to execute a SQL statement. Fourth thing, how to get the result set, and how to close the connection. Means, first of all, we will declare the establishing the connection. Second thing, we will create a JDBC statement. Third thing, how to execute the SQL statement. Fourth thing, we will set the result set. Then next thing, we will close the connection. Okay. Let's see. Establish of the connection, we will use the Java import.sql, load the vendor, is the import Java SQL asterisk. Then load the vendor specific drivers, class for name, then oracle.jdbc driver or Oracle driver. Next thing, here we will discuss about the what do you think this statement does and how, and dynamically load the drivers of the class and Oracle database. Next thing, make the connection. How we will make the connection? Here, maybe connection is a class, and it's a class, we will create an instance variable con. Then use the driver manager dot get connection method. Then use the JDBC Oracle, then Oracle product. Next thing, we will discuss about the statement and establishing. Then again, how to create the statement. Then statement is equals to statement instance variable. Then connection dot create statement method. In this way, we will use the statement, create the statement object for sending SQL statement to the database. Next, how to executing SQL statement. So here a string create level high, then create L, then use the SSN integer not null, then name where in a varchar, then marks in an integer. So here statement dot execute, update, then create. What does this statement? This statement will be executed. Then after we will find these types of resultant. Means string insert lehigh, insert into lehigh, values, then plus, then the values, then name, then numbers. Means SSN integers, then varchar name, and then marks in an integer form. Okay. Then at last statement execute and update the result. Next thing, get result set. So here use a string in a query Lehigh, then select a string from Lehigh. Lehigh is like a table name. Okay. So here result set rs. Rs is a instance of the variable class. Then statement dot execute query, then query of the table name. Then next, how it will be run? Then we use the loop int SSN number string then marks, and use the rs dot get int SSN number, rs dot get string name, then rs dot get integer in a marks. So we will use a close connection. Here we will use two types of connection. First a statement close, then second thing is a connection closed. So transaction and JDBC. What is a transaction? Suppose that we want to fetch a data through the server and I am a user. Then if I send the request to the user to the server through the web pages, and through the web pages we can consider or we can get the data through the server to the user. Then what is this? This is the transaction. This is the transaction. We will fetch the data from one person to another person, like a user in a one phase and customer and a client is another phase, and which way it will be communicated. Then this communication is called the transaction, or get the information or through the databases, it's a transaction. So here we will discuss about the JDBC. Allow the SQL statement to be grouped together into a single transaction. A transaction control is performed by the connection. Object's default mode is auto commit. Each SQL statement is treated as a transaction. We can turn off the auto commit statement. So here we will use the auto commit statement is a con.set auto commits. Here we will use a two types of method, means we will get the false, and second thing we will get the true. Okay. Next thing, once auto commit is off, no SQL statement will be committed until an explicit is invoked connection.commit. Okay. So here we will discuss about some points. All changes done by the SQL statement will be made permanently in a database. Next thing, how to handling errors with the exception. What is the exception? Exception is just like an error, and error maybe it's a hardware, or it will be logical, or maybe it's related to a memory. Okay, it will be create during the running duration of the program. That's why how to we will handle the exceptions. Here we will discuss about the exception. Then program should recover and leave the database in a consistent state. If a statement is the try block, then throw an exception or warning, it can be caught in one of the corresponding catch statement. Then how might a finally block be helpful here? So here we will use, you can use a rollback your transaction in a catch block, then block or close the database, and connection and free database is related to resources, it's a finally block. Another way to access the database, it's the next way how to access a database. Then we will use a Java application. Next thing, through the Java application we will communicate with the JDBC API. Then again JDBC API use the JDBC driver manager. Then JDBC driver manager direct communicate with the JDBC ODBC driver, and ODBC driver manager communicate through the two types. First ODBC driver, second ODBC driver, then database 1, then database 2. It will be also work will be parallelly, okay, and again use this ODBC driver, and next thing is a databases. It's a sample of the program. Here we will import the package and write the class test, then use the public static void main string args, then use the try class for name, it's a dynamic loading of for a driver, then string file name, then string database. So database is a like file name dot trim, then driver dot id, then read only true. Then how to establish the connection? Connection is space, then con driver manager get the connection database, then statement as, then con dot create the database, s dot execute, then here we will use a create table, then insert into test, then select the first column from the test one. Next set the result, use the object, then set the result does not equals to null, then we will create the if r is equals to null, then there is a no result is to view, then while use the while statement and execute, then close the connection, close the string and close the connection, and now find last catch the exception errors. It's a mapping types of a JDBC driver. Here we will use the JDBC type and also use the Java type. In a Java we will use the BIT, here boolean, int byte, small int use short, integer we use int, big integer use the long, real we use the float. Here float double is also use the double, then binary, variable long binary is use the byte, then character varchar long varchar character also use the string, a numeric decimal use the big decimal. Here use the date in a JDBC, but in a Java we will use the java.sql.date. Here we will use the timestamp. Then in a Java type we use the java.sql.timestamp. Then globe, array, district, struct, references and Java object. Next, a JDBC to scroll ball result. We will use a statement, then connection of the creator statement, again string query, then result set. Here we will use a previous and relative result, then relative 7, then absolute values. Next we will discuss about the metadata from the database. What is a metadata? A connection database is able to provide a schema information describing its table, its supported SQL grammar, it store the procedures and the capability of this connection and so on. And here one point is also coming, what is the stored procedure and group of the SQL statement that from a logical unit and the perform a particular task. So this information is made available through the data meta object. How do we handle the data metadata from the database? So use a connection con is equals to database metadata, then use a object reference class instance dot use the connection dot get metadata, and also have the value string catalog equals to null, string schema null, then string table system, then string types null. Then here we will use the result set rs equals to emd, then get data tables and catalog schema tables and types. Again JDBC meta driver from rs through the result set. Public static void print rs result set, throw SQL exceptions, then set the result set metadata md, then get the metadata method and use the init column md.get column count, use the loop and while, use the while loop, and we will get the output result set. JDBC and beyond. So, in a Java naming and directory interface API for a network wide sharing the information about the users, machine, networks, services and the application. Here preserves the Java object model. Then also use the Java data object. And what is the methodology of the Java data objects? Here a model persistence of object using RDBMS as the repository. And what is the repository? Repository is the reflect of our object instance. Then SQLJ is the embedded SQL in a Java. Here we will use the standardized and optimized by system based Oracle and the IBM. Then Java extended with the directives, SQL routines can invoke in every time of the Java method and maps the SQL types of the Java classes. Here these are references. Okay, if you want to fetch the another information and the deep information, then these are link of the references and you will get the whole information. Okay, thank you very much.